So 2024 is starting off with a full-on mask-off moment for the mainstream press. Here we have from the Associated Press. Harvard president's resignation highlights new conservative weapon against colleges. Plagiarism. Well, isn't that interesting? So that's a conservative weapon. And I guess that kind of in a crazy way makes sense because the left now considers, things like merit and hard work to be racist. But in any case, Community Notes had something to say about this. Plagiarism is a breach of rules for Harvard University. Claudine Gay was ultimately forced to resign for a series of breaches of this policy. Plagiarism, or application of the rules around plagiarism, therefore cannot be considered a weapon. And if we go to Harvard's website, what constitutes plagiarism? Well, it says here, taking credit for anyone else's work is stealing. And it is unacceptable in all academic situations, whether you do it intentionally or by accident. I imagine they'll probably rewrite this in the next couple of days to taking credit for anyone else's work is reparations. But let's go to the article itself, and it looks to me like they changed the headline. Plagiarism charges downed Harvard's president. A conservative attack helped to fan the outrage. Yeah, and there's like 50 allegations of plagiarism out of the mere 17 papers that she actually did publish. I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out she plagiarized her own resignation letter. And actually, just through here, I've just got a new statement from her. It says, I have a dream that my 17 published papers will one day live in a university where they will not be judged by their originality, but by DEI principles. P.S. All of my critics are racist. And just because I made that up entirely doesn't mean it's not true. And this story is being reprinted in Canada, by the way. This is the same story here, a different headline. That's on the CBC. Here's CTV printing the same story. I just do this to show you that Canadian media is also retarded. Now get a load of this. It says, American higher education has long viewed plagiarism as a cardinal sin. Accusations of academic dishonesty have ruined the careers of faculty and undergraduates alike. The latest target is Harvard President Claudine Gay. What, the latest target? So now punishing people for stealing, and that's what Harvard calls it itself on its own website. So punishing people for stealing in an academic setting is now targeting them. And when you see this kind of framing, you understand just how sleazy these journalists really are. But anyway, in her case, the outrage came not from her academic peers, but her political foes, led by conservatives who put her career under intense scrutiny. So it says the outrage came not from her academic peers. Well, yes, it is. It's academics who wrote papers who were saying, yes, she plagiarized my work. But the thing is, if you're on the wrong side of an issue from the media's perspective, you no longer count as a peer or as an expert. I think we've kind of figured that out over the last few years, right? How about this? Christopher Rufo, a conservative activist who helped orchestrate the effort against Gay, celebrated her departure as a win in his campaign against elite institutions of higher education. On X, formerly Twitter, he wrote, "Scalped, as if Gay was a trophy of violence, invoking a gruesome practice taken up by white colonists who sought to eradicate Native Americans, and also used by some tribes against their enemies." So that's interesting. This almost feels kind of tacked on at the end, doesn't it? I wonder why that is. Well, here's the same sentence from the same article when it was first published. And that part isn't tacked on to the end there. It just says, taken up by white colonists who sought to eradicate Native Americans. So obviously they've done a stealth edit and added on the part, and also used by some tribes against their enemies to make their article seem a little bit less idiotic. And amazingly, it makes it even more idiotic. And you know what's interesting? Nowhere in this article does it mention that there was an update to this article, that it had been changed in any way from the original. I don't know, maybe the editor studied journalism at Harvard. And this is after Christopher Rufo himself responded. Associated Progressives, AP, is trying to run the false narrative that white colonists invented scalping to eradicate Native Americans, without noting that, in fact, the Indians originated the practice in North America, and in modern times, it is a common journalistic phrase. But just for the record, here's from a noted far-right blog, Wikipedia. Intertribal conflict. There is substantial archaeological evidence of scalping in North America in the pre-Columbian era. Carbon dating of skulls shows evidence of scalping as early as 600 AD. So I guess in summation, Associated Press thinks that it's totally unfair and actually pretty racist that Claudine Gay was forced to resign just because she's an academic fraud. But not only that, white people went to a place with a long, long history of scalping and also scalped, which is way more evil because they were white, right? Maybe if they'd had a bit more time, they could have worked in how, like, bird names are racist too. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Please subscribe, like, and share. Sharing really helps me out. I thank you for that. I will see you next time.